Hey everybody, I'm excited for what I don't remember. I keep losing all a track of all the sessions, but I'm excited for our next six-figure role play session. Today we have special guest, Mr. Jason Hamilton, is going to be sharing how he's winning. For those of you that are not able to make it, and you can be watching the recording. So Jason, you've been killing
Yes.
it, man. So tell us about your successes, and then I want to get into the nuts and bolts if we could.
Um, I just been following Kim Carlson's lead. That's all.
Not true. That
That's
is
where you say
not
thank you,
true.
Kim. That's where you say thank you.
That thank you. But
I mean, honestly, I just feel like sometimes in this business, it ebbs and flows. We have our moments of when we're hot and we have moments of when we're not. And I think right now I'm just in a season of flow right now. Things have been coming to me. I've been going after some things. But I have to be honest with you. I think it all starts with our mindset, um, and what we're feeding our mind and what we're focused on. Me and my wife were having a conversation yesterday, and I was telling her about a sermon I was listening to, and the pastor was speaking on anxiety versus excitement. And when we have things that we got to do and we put all this pressure on ourselves and we start feeling this anxiety towards things, um, or there's sometimes we feel excitement. And he said it's a very fine line. And the difference between the anxiety and the excitement is what we're focused on. Are you focused on what's going to go wrong? Are you focused on, are the people going to feel what you have to say? Are you focused on all the negative things? And that creates anxiety. Or are you focused on, man, what if this works? What if this goes well? What if they love what I have to say? That creates excitement. And so when I'm making cold calls, I try to prep myself and focus on, what if I call the right person? What if I find someone that needs my help? And you focus on those things and it gets you through the calls. Um, because let's be honest, when we're cold calling, there are days when I'll sit there for 2 hours and maybe get two people to pick up the phone, but is it worth it? Yeah. I may not did something that day, but I did the process. You have to learn to trust the process. We all want the promise, but we got to also trust the process.
That is so good, man. You're just so rich in wisdom. I love it, Jason. Jason's dropping gems right now. Everybody wants to promise, but they don't want to trust the process. I love it, man.
Yeah. So,
Love it.
so yeah, I think the biggest key for me lately, and I have moments when it's not, but right now, lately, over the course of the last few months, has just been consistency. Um, doing what I need to do. And am I perfect every day? No. If I sat here and said that I've blocked out my time to make my cold calls and I did it every day, I'd be lying to you. But I do it more often than I don't. If I mess up a day, I make sure not to mess up 2 days. Or if I don't get my 2 hours in, I make sure I get an hour in. If I don't get my morning block in, I try to, okay, I got to do this thing. Let me get some calls in the evening, just to keep the consistency going.
I love it, Jason. Because I've heard top performers through the years say, my goal is to talk to this many people in a day, or make this many calls, right, or make this many dials. And when I'm done with that, I'm done. I'm okay with being done. I'm okay with
Mm-hmm.
being done. Some people say, as I want to set one appointment, right, and then they're okay with saying they set that appointment, or they make those 10 calls, or they make those 15 calls, like you said. Hey, if I miss a day, it's all good. I'll be on the next day. If I can't get 2 hours, I get 1 hour. You know what I mean? Because I think the commitments that we make to ourselves are so important, man. If we can't trust yourself to make commitments and follow through on yourself, you know what I mean? You're the only one that has to
Yeah.
lay your pillow at night. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, and
and
you're not going to be 100% every day. It's just like going to the gym. Some days you show up to the gym, you're not 100%. You're not you're going to just attack it. There's some days when you go in the gym and you just go through the motions, but at least you went.
yeah,
Some motion is better than no motion any day.
I love it, man. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. Did you catch that? Paul's you getting Paul all fired up. He's gonna run out of the room, you know. Jason, we've been over the last, I want to say over the last 6 weeks, no, wait, has it been six? I think it's been six.
Yeah,
We've
it's
been
been 6.
we've been focusing on expired listings. We had one call day. All of us were there. And like you said, you were following Kim Carlson. She just killed it that day. She had the phone gods were like on her side that day. And she got, had some really great conversations. Paul had some good conversations, but mainly it's been expired listings. What area, who are you calling most? And tell us about that.
I haven't been calling expireds. I used to. It's actually been some years since I've called expireds. I'm actually just I use a program called Deal Machine that I can build lists, and I can build a list of I've been building a list of off-market properties, high equity, um, sometimes senior owners. I try to find people that have owned their house for a minimum of 15 years, sometimes 20 years. I try not to find people that have just moved in their house because they're not going to want to sell, or low probability of them selling. So, part of my list is single family residents, off market, high equity, been in their house for 15 plus, 20 plus years. There's even a criteria in this program where I can hit tired landlords, if I want to, find people that want to sell their rentals, or I can search for owner occupied people. But anyway, I'm just creating a list of people to call that are off market.
Did you say
Um,
retired rentals? What was
tired
that?
tired landlords.
Tired land. A list of tired landlords or just landlords, period?
No, the criteria actually says tired landlords. I don't know how they got that. And maybe they just pull rental properties, people that have owned these properties for years and years, and they may be wanting to sell. There's a button on there that you can click to people that own multiple properties. You may find someone that wants to dump all their properties and move out of California, cash out. So anyway, yeah, I just use this program to build my list. I've used Red X before, and that's when I was calling expireds. But I feel like you can just get a list from anyone. You can get a list of names and numbers from your title rep. There's many ways out there now to get names and numbers, so don't let that be the barrier. That's the easy part.
Sure, sure. So I just want to comment on what Jason's saying. So, you got the expired listings. The great thing about expired listings is they've raised their hand and say they want to sell, right? So you got less calls, less contacts to get a lead, right? But you also have people that are worn out and pissed off at the industry and how agents have let them down. And Jason's working in a space where there's little competition, right? So they're literally, Jason might be turning over a lot more rocks to find someone. But you know what? So there's a kind of those two things I want you guys to think about. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I
expired
love it.
people have raised their hand at some point and said they wanted to sell. Um, the people that I'm calling have not raised their hand. I'm trying to get them to raise their hand, or and discovering that maybe I do want to sell this property. And I may call them and they'd be like, you know what? That is something we've talked about, not right
Yeah,
now, but maybe 3 months, 6 months, and okay, well,
yeah.
I'm going to be in the business in 6 months, so we should definitely keep in touch.
Yeah, no, I love it. And with Ricky Caruth, what I love about him, and I wish I would have done this when I started, is he just starts a database. He just puts all these people name and email in there, and now he just drips on them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Creates that database,
Yeah.
down the road. So I love it. I love it.
And
That's
don't
great.
work with mean people. People, when they're cold calling, they're so scared to call people because people are going to cuss them out. Well, don't work with those people.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
everybody is nice, and I don't want to cuss on your recording, but I made a note: don't work with a-holes.
No, I love it. No, you're
There's
right.
there's enough business out there that we don't have to work with people that are going to treat us a certain way and talk to us a certain way. And I'm talking to you, Kim. Um, you know, I mean, honestly, there's enough business out there where if someone is acting a certain way, fire them. You don't need to put up with that.
Yeah. Well, when you generate, you don't have to tolerate, right?
Yeah,
When you generate, you don't
exactly.
have to tolerate. When you're a good steward over your, when you're looking over your finances and not running that laser's edge, right? You're on the laser's edge of, man, if I don't get a deal this month, I'm done, right? Then you know what I mean. When you're that desperate, you're like, dude, I'll work with anybody. You know what I mean? And I
Right.
think you're spot on, Jason. I over our theme over the last few weeks have been, you know, don't worry about being the best person for them. Figure out if they're fit for you. Figure out if they're fit for you. If you feel like you're working so hard to get an idea of you know their motivation or they're making it really difficult, it's not an easy first date, and you probably don't want a second date, or you probably don't want a third date. You know what I mean? They're probably not somebody that you want to end up following up with, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You just want to discover what their problem is. You know, why are they selling? When are they selling? And then you got to just be able to convey the value that you can bring and how you can help them solve that problem. It's all we're doing is solving problems. You know, if you call someone and they don't have a problem, or they haven't discovered they have a problem, or they haven't accepted they have a problem, because some people you call or have their head buried in the sand. You know, if you're
Yeah.
calling people with, you know, foreclosures or tax delinquents, you know, and you're looking like, oh man, these people are in trouble. You know, I had a guy that his house was listed on this was just recently, at an auction date to sell his house. Oh no, we're gonna figure it out. You know, they just bury their heads in the sand and they don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. And you know what I've learned really effective with that, Jason, is I've learned the effectiveness when you're talking to people that you know are in that situation, don't even bring it up, allow them to bring it up, allow them to bring it up and kind of fly under the radar and say, hey, you know what? I'm you know, I was calling you because we're getting a lot of demand in your area, and I'm just wondering if you're interested in taking advantage of the opportunity in this market before, you know what I mean? So kind of talking to them from that part of it, because you know they're being hit. You know,
Oh yeah.
I can save you, I can save you, you know what I mean? Which the end of the day, a lot of consumers right now, they're not trusting. They're not
Mhm.
trusting. You know what I mean? So I love that, Jason. That's powerful,
Yeah.
man. I love it,
So
buddy.
I would have to say the biggest key to success with calling is consistency. That's it. You know, if you're calling once a week, you're going to get once a week results. And that once a week maybe you didn't speak to anybody that day. Um, so I mean, you have to get on the phones. If cold calling is your thing, you got to be on the phones. If door knocking is your thing, you got to be out there, you know, knocking doors. Whatever your thing is, you got to be doing it consistently on a regular basis. You know, and make it fun. You know, don't approach cold calling as, oh my gosh, I got a cold call. Just, hey, I get to go cold call. I get to go generate some business. You know, I don't
Yeah.
have to buy leads because I generate business.
No, that's great, man. I love it. I mean, it just, and then I want to do some role play, but one of the things that you're kind of stirring in me right now is you can either wait for somebody to call you, right? Or you can go out and spend money and spend money to do what? To buy your way into a conversation. You're
But you
spending
know
money
what?
to buy your way into a conversation.
At the end of the day, though, even if you're buying leads, you got to pick up the phone and call the person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're buying your way into the conversation. I was talking to
Yeah.
a broker owner yesterday that he has 80 agents, and I know darn well this guy's struggling right now. And he's, you know, we were talking about all of it, and it's kind of like, you know, buying leads. It's like they're still in the same cycle, Jason. They're still thinking about it. They're still trying to figure it out. So, no, but
Yeah.
that's huge. You guys have any questions? Q Money, I see you. Kim, Paul, do you have any questions for Jason? Thanks, Jason, for taking some time out for us today, buddy. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Another thing, real quick, is I just wanted to tell people, don't let the expense of getting a dialer or paying for these systems that you need to make these phone calls or get this data, don't let that expense stop you. I mean, could be $100 to $300 per month. You know, if you're spending max $300 a month, that's what, $3,600 a year. How many deals do you need to close in that year to cover that cost? You close one deal in our market and you've paid for a couple of years of having a dialer.
Yeah.
So, you know, I often hear people say, well, you really can't afford not to have it right now.
Yeah. Well, they understand the power of that. I was frustrated that day. It had been a while since I was cold calling, and I must have dialed probably about 60 phone numbers, and I had 3 conversations. 60 dials.
Yeah.
Just like this, old school. You know what I mean? Where if you got a dialer, you can pump through, 300 numbers and have 10
Mhm.
conversations. You know what I mean? For that part of it. Any other questions? Come on, guys. Jason put up his
No
head.
questions, no questions. I've seen Jason in action. So he's just, man, like just, yeah, he's just amazing. And just, yeah, got to keep that mind frame that he does, like not worry about what's on the other end. And, yeah, it's all good. He's killing it and we're killing it. And I'm so glad we're doing this class because it's just something else I'm adding to my business besides my open houses and getting leads. I will get comfortable before I die cold calling.
Guys, there are 200, there are probably about 400 people that are getting this text message and email, and there's 5 people here. And I promise you, out of those 400 people, I am confident to tell you 350 of them are trying to figure out how they're going to pay their mortgage, or they're looking at their bank account, counting how many months they have left. Or they're looking at their credit card and they're trying to see how much balance do they have left until their next deal. I promise you, I lived there. I had a line of credit of 30 grand that I would just run through. You know?
Yeah, I've been through that, you know, not too
Yeah.
not too long ago before I was like,
Yeah,
whoa.
and look, I'm not ashamed of it. Actually, thank you, Lord, for putting me through that because I understand it. And now I can connect with people. Now I can tell people. I can tell people how it used to be for me, knowing damn well what I'm really doing, Jason, is I'm telling it how it is for them right now. Instead of me telling
Yeah.
them directly, that's what I'm saying, you know? Jason, would you be willing to do a role play on on
Yeah.
on on how it works? Does anybody want to be the role play partner? Paul, I see you. Talk to me.
I had a question. I didn't want to be a role play partner.
Oh.
I mean, I don't mind, but I had the question. Jason, just wanted to double check. So you had mentioned that dialer. Is that is something you're using? You felt like it was increasing your time and effectiveness?
Well, I'm using a program called Deal Machine to build my list. Um, they do have a dialer, but right now I've just been hand dialing. Everyone has their dialer, but I just hand dial.
Okay.
Um,
That's all I've been doing so far. And I got my chart over here on behind the computer, but I got about one conversation every 10 dials or so. It felt like,
and now when I was using Red X, I use their dialer. I like their dialer. Deal Machine's dialer it's kind of new. I like Deal Machine because of the data they give me.
Yeah.
And the skip tracing that they give me. I mean, I get phone numbers, emails, and it's super simple to use. But their dialer, but the Red X, and and there's Vulcan 7. All the dialers work. Just whatever one you're going to use, just use it. But
Yeah.
right now, I've just been hand dialing.
It reminds me of this story about this young kid who was just real quick, Kim. This young kid that was playing soccer, and one of the guys realized that his shoes were a size and a half too small, and he had blisters on his feet. But that kid was playing soccer like freaking mad. He was incredible. And then you got the other kid on the other end of the team who's got all the right shin guards and all the right shoes. But guess what? They're not playing the hell out of some soccer. Jason's like, you know what? If I'm going to point my money anywhere, I'm going to point my money on the data. I want to get the best data, and I'll just dial. Just don't miss that, man. It's like he knows where the data is, and where he wants to do, where his tolerance is he's like, I want better data, which is important, right? Better data is great. We have smart data, where it wasn't like that before, guys. Seriously.
Yeah, the information's out there if you want it. It's easy to
Love it.
find.
Love it. Anyone else? Any other questions? No worries, Q. Thanks for showing up, man. Okay, awesome. Well, Jason, you just let us know. Maybe if you don't want, maybe we can do a couple role plays and then we'll let you go, man. Maybe you can just do a general one and then do a little bit one more specific. And
No,
I'll
I can do one with you. I won't do an expired because I haven't been calling expireds, and
sure.
let's keep it authentic here.
Yeah, no,
But I
absolutely.
mean, and one thing that I do when I call people is I just assume the person answering the phone is the person that I'm going to talk to.
Okay.
So I don't ask to speak to them. I just go right into it. Because what I've learned is if it's not the right person, they'll tell you.
Love it, love it. And yeah, it's almost like I always visualize like it's like one of those hourglasses, right? And you have a certain amount of time before they're either going to hang up on you, right? Or they're going to let you talk. And usually it's about what? 10 seconds or so? 10, 15
Maybe,
seconds?
maybe.
Yeah, if you're lucky, it's 10 seconds. Who's this? Click.
Right.
Okay, awesome. I'll be the homeowner on one, and then maybe one of the other people can one of you guys can do the other one. So you say ring ring, I say hello. We'll keep moving.
All right. I'm gonna turn my I'll leave my camera on, but I'm not gonna look at you. I don't like looking when I'm role
Well,
playing.
you know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make it easy for you. I'm just gonna shut my camera off so you don't even have to look at me.
All right. Well, I'll do the same.
Boom. Boom. Well, in that case, I'll turn it back. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Thanks, Jason, again, man. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Hey, ring ring.
Hello.
Hey, Joey, this is Jason. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. Who's Jason? How can I help?
Hey, man, I'm just calling you because I believe you own the property over there on 123 Main Street, and me and some of my partners are looking to purchase some properties in that area. Just wondering when you may consider selling.
Uh, wow, that's interesting. My wife and I have been kind of thinking about over the last several months that we may be considering it. We got a bigger house than we normally, than we need right now, kind of empty nesters.
Okay,
So,
great.
how's the market right now?
Well, it just depends. Depends on if you're buying, selling, investing. But let me ask you, how long have you lived at this address?
Well, we've been here for 15 years.
Really? Oh man, that's a long time. Where'd you guys move from? You only been there 15. Where were you at prior to that?
San Jose. I was born and raised in San Jose. I was out here because of my folks moved out here, and I didn't end up planning to be here. I ended up planning to go back to San Jose, but then yeah, I ended up staying, and here we go. 15 years later, I'm still here.
Okay, and how'd you happen to pick this area?
My mom and dad were out here, and that's how I just wanted to stay close to them,
Okay.
and yeah, so.
Okay. And now if you were to move, where are you guys planning on going next?
You know what? That's undecided. That's undecided. We don't really know where we want to go right now.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. And if it was perfect timing, when would you go? Everything lined up the way you needed it to be.
I think, I mean, if it was up to me, I would just stay here. My wife's kind of is the one that's got the itch, and I think really right now, we just got to figure out where we're going. That's kind of the thing. I don't know. I don't want to leave,
Yeah, I get
but
it. I get it.
but this, I was married once before, and this isn't my second wife. This is my last wife. You
Got it.
know, so I'm waiting for her to discover where she wants to go.
Right, right. Well, hey, check this out. Let me just tell you a little bit about us. I know I just interrupted your day and I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I'm working with a group of local real estate investors that are interested in buying properties in your area. We are not concerned with the property being in picture perfect condition. If we could buy your price at a term that works for you with a price that works for you without even listing it, is that something that would be of interest to you?
Um, yeah, I mean, it would be open, we would be open to having a conversation. I,
Okay.
I'm I'm a numbers guy, so I mean, it would all have to do with what the numbers look like.
Yeah, the
But that,
numbers have to make sense for you. If they don't make sense for you, then there would be no reason for us to even talk any further. So absolutely, I agree with you there. So hey, here's what I don't mind doing sometime when it's convenient for you. We can meet, we can take a look at your home and property, tell you a realistic price of what we think we could pay for your property in its current condition, how long we think it would take to get top dollar for your property. Um, and then it's up to you. We'll just give you the information and you decide what's best for yourself. How's that sound?
yeah, I know that sounds good.
Okay, okay. So Joey, let me ask you this question. What's a price that you'd like to get for your property to sell it as is?
I really don't even know. I
You
really
don't
don't
know.
even. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, right now, I mean, I got, you know, um, I don't know. I don't even know where to start, really.
Okay, well, that's something we can discuss when we get there. Luckily for you, we're market experts, and we'll just tell you what we think we can get for you. Another thing is I am a licensed real estate agent. So if I feel like you could get more for your property, putting your house on the market, we could help you with that as well. But if we think that your house needs some work and you'll probably do better with an investor, we're able to go that route as well. So either way, we'll just give you the information and let you make the decision. So I have some time today at 3, or I have some time tomorrow at 5. What works better for you?
I'm gonna need to talk to my wife first, Jason, before I make any commitments.
Okay, and what time is your wife normally home?
She gets home in the evenings, usually after
Evenings,
5.
usually
Yeah.
after 5. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we just tentatively set something up for tomorrow at 6 o'clock? And I will give you a call tomorrow morning to confirm the appointment. If for some reason it doesn't work, we'll just reschedule. But at least we have something on the books because I get pretty busy.
Yeah, yeah, I can't guarantee anything, but yeah, if you want to give me a call, and then I can make sure that she's good with it and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so let's just tentatively schedule for 6 o'clock tomorrow, and then I'll call you tomorrow to make sure that works.
Love it, love it. Wow. That was so freaking natural. I can unpack that role play. He asked me a lot of questions, asked me a ton of questions, and kind of just turning over the rock. I love it. You went in as the investor part of it, which is great. You're looking around. So in my mind, I'm like, man, these guys have a pocket full of money and they're wanting to buy properties in the area. That's what kind of I got. You know what I mean? I didn't feel like you were fishing for listings. And then you gave me an option. You gave me an option of saying, hey, I'm a licensed real estate agent. We're selling things as is, but if I feel you can get more money, options are huge. I think when you give somebody options, they feel better. You're giving them the power to choose something. You know.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'll tell you, it sounds natural, and I've done it enough to make it sound natural. But when I'm making these calls, just so you guys know, I have a script in front of me. All the questions I asked you came from this script, and I keep it here in case I get lost.
yeah.
And it's not a script that I created. I'm a part of a group, Springboard to Wealth. We were, and it's Thatch Wynn's group, and this is his script. And I don't know where he got it from, but it's worked for him and made him wealthy. And so, yeah, I just keep his script in front of me when I'm making calls. When I was calling expires, I had my expired script, and you just, if you have a script and you get down and you get good with it, then it sounds natural.
Yeah, Thatch has been in the game for a while. He was part of the Mike Ferry coaching organization years
Yeah.
ago,
He
and
has
he was
Mike Ferry on his calls a lot. Or no, he has Matthew on there, I think.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah.
He was a beast back then. I mean, back
Yeah,
then,
he still is.
you know,
Yeah.
But he's kind of one of those secret masters where you don't really know who he is until you need him. Seriously, you know.
Yeah. I'm a part of his group, and we have live coaching calls over Zoom every Tuesday. And yeah. So I mean, that's for that, if you're gonna call expireds, learn an expired script. There's tons of them out there. I mean, you can create a expired script with ChatGPT, and it'll print out pretty much, it'll just scour the internet and find you one.
Guys, I was telling Jason yesterday, I went to go work with that broker owner yesterday, and I literally put his name in there. I said, I'm gonna go see this person that has this many agents. Can you give me some questions on how to? And they literally told me everything. Hey, discovered the pain points, went through all of it. I was like, it was crazy. So I never realized I would have like a mentor that I could ask.
Yeah. And one thing at the end, you hit me with, I gotta check with my wife. I still try to book the appointment tentatively. I used to say, oh, okay, yeah, I understand. Well, how about if I call you back tomorrow, or I'll call you back later? If you let them off the phone without an appointment, you probably never gonna talk to that person again.
Yeah, Dave Hastings was one of my role play partners with Mike Ferry, and he got my attention because he had two Ferraris, one red and one black. No joke. And he hit me with that script. I got to talk to my wife. I got to talk to my wife. Finally, after the third one, I said, David, I give up. And he showed me, and he told me the same thing. He's like, let's do this. Let's book something tentatively, you know. And then yeah, I'll just let me know if you need to change it. But just tentative. When they make that commitment, when there's a commitment that's made, the first time you can get somebody to make a small commitment is where you're getting an agreement that you can take. It's the beginning of that sales cycle. But without that first commitment, you're not going to get that sales cycle. You know what I mean? So I love
And
it.
even if they want to cancel on you, if they know you're calling to confirm the next day, at least they're probably going to answer the phone.
Yeah.
So if they have some other objections because they've slept on it, or they've talked to their wife, or they really didn't want to book the appointment to begin with, you'll probably get another opportunity to speak to them because I'm going to answer this call and cancel on this guy, and
Yeah.
then you just got to overcome whatever objection they're giving you at that point. Or if they don't answer the phone, go knock on their door and be like, hey, I'm here. We had an appointment today.
No, I'm with you. Mike Ferry used to tell us this all the time. He'd say, it's easier to prospect a lot of times than it is to do follow-up. Because follow-up, you're calling, asking the same, they know why you're calling, right? With follow-up, they know why you're calling. And he used to tell us all the time, he said, be sure to always set the next appointment, because what you're really doing is you're setting an appointment to talk about real estate. Not when they're going and taking Timmy to a soccer game, not when they're getting ready, to be on a date night, right? Where you're interrupting their flow, and they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting the time that you're calling them, not just you. You know what I mean? So scheduling that appointment is where they're like, okay, 5 o'clock, we're going to be talking about real estate. 5 o'clock, we're going to be doing that. And I think when we realize that, that listings are taking one appointment at a time, it's appointment to the next appointment to the next appointment. I can honestly say, from a cold lead to actually getting a deal, you're probably anywhere from, from a cold deal to getting a listing, you're probably at least 6 or 7 contacts away from taking that. Could be up to 10, right? Because you got that first one where you're identifying their needs. Then you got the appointment, right? Then after that appointment, then they usually got to think about it, right? Or you do a buyer's consult, right? I'm always a big advocate of figuring out where they're going before you talk about where they're leaving from. I got a guy today that's calling me if in Manteca. I'm doing an appointment. Instead of talking to him, we're going to go a little bit over his numbers, but first we're going to do the buyer's consult so I can get him to fall in love with where he's going, right? He told me where he's going. We're going to talk about that first. Because if you can't help identify where they're going, you know what I mean? So any
the
questions?
listing that I just got in Silver Springs, we talked on the phone. We
Wait,
met.
did you Can we just celebrate that? He said
Right.
Silver Springs.
100%.
He said Silver Springs.
Right.
Paul
Right.
First,
Woo.
just so you know, Paul First, Silver Spring.
That's
It's
1.6.
called, it's 2 words. Cha-ching. I don't even know if
Yeah.
that's a word.
How
Yeah,
much are
and
you listing it at, Jay?
we talked about the other day, probably 1.6, but we're not putting that on the market until probably July. So I told them that, you know, when we get to July or when we get to late June, let's sit down and look and see where numbers are.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah, brother.
And
after
he helped him buy a house already, and that was
Yeah. Well,
just
that's what I was going to talk about, because Joey mentioned helping them find out where they, when I sat down with them, they, you know, we talked and whatever, they felt comfortable with me. They said, "Hey, yeah, we are going to sell this house." And they said, "But first, we are not going to sell this house until we purchase another house." And they were financially in a position that they didn't need to sell that house. They own that house free and clear. And they said, "We're cash buyers. We don't need to sell this house in order to purchase something else.
yeah,
But we are not going to sell this house until we purchase something else and we're moved in." So that's what happened. So I helped them purchase in Folsom. They're getting some work done on that house, you know, making it their own.
yeah.
And that's going to take some time, because they're doing a lot to the house. And once that's done, then they're going to move in, and then we'll get this other house ready to go.
Guys, I'm telling you, that's huge what Jason just said. And I promise you, when you're talking about somebody who's selling, as soon as you get enough information about their house, just enough, just basic information, right? You set the appointment when you're going to talk about that, right? And then after that, you got to talk about the buy. You got to talk about where they're going. You know what I mean? And one of the phrases I say is like, "Hey, Jason, I appreciate, you know, looking forward to meeting with you about your house. But I got to ask you, man. I mean, where are you thinking about going?" They asked me some questions. I was like, because I have found in all the years I've been doing this, you got to fall in love with where you're going in order to feel good about leaving where you are. And when you do that, it helps get rid of some of the resistance that they have, right? That you're not trying to list. You know, I remember before I'd be like, "So we can list your house for this. We can go on the market next week or the week after," and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, slow your roll, dude. Where the hell am I gonna go? I'm not selling this house before I know where I'm going." You know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is, get good and have a system in place to keep in touch with people. Because what I didn't mention is my first conversation with these people was back in November. And now here we are, end of March, and we just closed on their house in Folsom. So, I mean, between November to March, you know, there was probably, yeah, because we did a quick closing. So probably end of February, there's what, you know, like a 3-4 month gap of trying to find a home. And these aren't the type of people that just wanted anything. It was like finding a needle in a haystack. So
Yeah.
we weren't out looking at homes all the time where I saw them all the time. So you have to make sure that you figure out a way to keep in touch with them where you're not bothering them, but you're bringing some value to them every time you speak to them. Do something different to stand out. Um, when I went
Yeah.
over their house the very first time to meet with them, I had a sold sign in my hand and a bottle of champagne. And it was about a week before Thanksgiving. You know, I'd never met these people. I met them on a cold call. So I go over there and I hand them the sold sign. I said, "Hey, this is for after I sell your house." And I said, "This bottle of champagne is we're going to celebrate with." I said, "Or if you want, Thanksgiving's next week. You guys can drink it with your family." But I
Love it.
just
Love
did
it.
something to stand out for them to remember me.
Love it, love it. I want to give you guys the most simple follow-up tool. Most simple. This is when I was in full-time production, this is what I did. I grabbed the manila folder and I had the two punch holes on the top of it, right? And I would put the county records on one side, and then I would put the CMA that I did on that listing. And the other side, I had a profile sheet. And that profile sheet was every conversation I had, every time I reached out to them. If they didn't answer, I would just put LV, left a voicemail, right? And then I had a little file that could stand up those folders, could stand up right on my desk, right next to them. And then every follow-up call I made, if they didn't answer, I just put them in the back. And then I'd start in the front. And then I put them in the back. And that's all I did. I maybe had like 15, 20 folders. And I would just continue following up. And guys, it was a mind blowing when I realized this and I started looking. Sometimes it would take me a year or 2 years to get somebody that wanted it, that was ready to sell from the first contact, right? And it's simple. It's not, because the problem with the CRMs is you're going in there, unless you're looking at it, unless you're in it constantly, out of sight, out of mind, right? My friend used to tell us to use 3x5 cards in a little box. And he would say, take our leads with us everywhere. So just a quick little folder. One side is the county record and the original market report that has the date on it, your first contact. Then on the other side is your profile sheet. And I would just write anywhere on there. Hey, March 25th, LV. You know what I mean? May 3rd, spoke, right? Wife's in the hospital. I write that in there because that was the topic of it. That's what I got from it, right? Or out of town, going to Europe. You know what I mean? And that's it. It's simple. It really is simple. So you do your prospecting and then you have your folders. And when you got that right in front of them, you're like, dude, I might as well just call these people. Hey, Jason, Joey Satariano. Hey, I know you and I spoke about 2 months ago. I just want to check, is everything going okay or whatever? Yeah, everything's fine, still waiting for my kids to get out of school in June. Okay, no worries, man. And then I shoot them over, and then I had a little stack of thank you cards. And then when I was done, I would send him a thank you card. Hey, Jason, it was great talking to you, man. I look forward to following up with you. In the meantime, if you need any help, landscapers, anything real estate related, call me before you make that decision, because I give a lot of business away. And what that means to you, Jason, is I can get you deals on landscapers, plumbers, or whatever. You know what I mean? And that was it. So awesome. Any more questions?
I got a question.
Okay.
Okay. So that the wonderful lead you were just talking about, Jason,
Mhm.
did it by chance come from one of these cold calls? You had mentioned it was back in March. So is it just from a different source?
No. That was a cold call back in
Oh yeah.
November.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. I love that. And then you had mentioned, you're going in, you're kind of talking to them as representing the investors. Are you actually prepping an iBuyer evaluation or having an idea of that before you go in? Or maybe even just at your presentation, you're saying something like, we expect your value to be 600,000, and then you just kind of know, well, a cash buyer is going to be 75%. You kind of say that.
No, when I'm calling, I don't really know what their property looks like. So over the phone, I never give a price. And I'll tell people, because they'll say, well, what will you pay me? Or you'll get some people to say, well, I won't take a penny less than 500,000 or whatever the number is. My response to them is, well, it'd be pretty irresponsible for me to tell you what I think we could pay for your home without having seen your home.
Love it. Love it. You already just said
Say
it
that
would
again.
be irresponsible for me. Go ahead,
No, I
Jason.
just tell them.
Say that again.
I just say it'd be pretty irresponsible for me to give you a price or tell you what we can pay for your home without having been inside your home. Because they'll tell you it's nice. We all know that the homeowner's idea of nice may not be our idea of nice. It's their home. But yeah, when I get to the home, I know immediately, okay, this is a retail property. So I put my realtor hat on. And I don't tell them I put my realtor hat on. It's still the same process. And I don't give them a price on the spot. I say, okay, I got the information. Let me go back and do a little more due diligence. Can I get back with you later today? Even if I have a price in mind, I still want to do some homework. And I'll let them
So
know.
you don't give them the numbers. So you look at the house and then go back and do another market analysis and go and then meet with them again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, for these types of calls, and it's not a true listing appointment, so we're not sitting down ready to talk numbers. Some of these people haven't even said if they want to sell.
Right.
you know, and
Well,
I'll give them options like, hey, I will let them know up front, hey, if we go the investor route, it's going to be more convenient. You know, you're not going to have people coming in your house, you know, for open houses or showings. You can leave everything here that you don't want. We'll get rid of it. But because of that, you know, the price is going to probably be less than you could get retail. If we put it on the market, get it ready to sell retail, you know, you probably get more money, but then you got to look at showings. And some people, you just got to explain to them the difference.
yeah.
Uh,
So I want to make a couple comments. What I love about Jason's approach is exactly how I did it when I would do a lot of my letter calls. And the thing is, as you meeting with them is, you know, because they want you to give them a price. You're like, hey, I got to come out and look at the home first. Well, there's a bunch of stuff I want to do. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I appreciate that. But before you spend any money, Jason, let me come out and look at your home. Because I want to, you know, my job is to, if you're going to spend any money on improving your home, let's make sure that for every dollar you spend, you're going to get at least three back. Other than that, keep your dollar, right? And the other part of it is they're getting more comfortable around you. They're getting more comfortable because you've said what you did what you say you were going to do, and then, right, and you did it. You said I'm going to do this, and then you did it. You said I'm going to do this, and then you did it. And then I would say, well, what is it worth? Hey, you know what? I got some information now. You know, because I didn't want to give you a desk review, Jason. I'm going to go back and I'm gonna go back and look at homes that I think are a better match based on what I've seen today. And then let's schedule time to talk on Tuesday. You know what I mean? And then whatever. And then we'll go from there. So it gives them time. It gives them time to do that. So that's huge, man. I'm fired up. I'm excited for you. You got me wondering about this deal machine. I want to see. I want to see some of the other pieces of data that are available out there because we're my son's doing about we're doing about 100 mailers a month. Not a lot. Not a lot.
mhm.
Um, and I'm doing
Yeah,
it
one
very.
thing I like about Deal Machine too is I can actually send mailers directly from their program, directly either from the desktop or they have a they have a phone app where if I'm out driving and I see a distressed property, I can pull that property up. I can take a picture of it, hit a button, and it'll start sending postcards. And I can add it to my lead database, and then I have it.
Can you put in the link, your affiliate link for Dealer Machine? Because I already want to be like I want you to be my affiliate.
Well,
No, I'm
well, let me.
serious,
Well, I was gonna
Jason.
say, let me call them and get it.
No, because Jason, that's powerful. One of the things my mentor used to tell me a long time ago is just drive around. He used to always say, be on the lookout for deals. Look for houses with overgrown lawns. Look
Hmm.
for houses that have deferred maintenance and just send them a letter. Just send
Yeah.
them a letter. You know, and he always used to say is they don't need to, it's not their business that you know that they're an expired listing or they're behind on their rent. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Because you're just there to talk to them about it. And when you make them feel comfortable enough, usually it's the second or third meeting when things will start unraveling. You know, one thing I didn't tell you, Jason, is my wife and I were in a really bad financial. Actually, we haven't paid our mortgage in 7 months. Wow, really? Absolutely. And we've been making postpone, you know, and then it's like you're here. So and I was telling my wife that you came over and we got to decide something. We got to decide something. And at the end of the day, I'm really afraid that if I don't do something, Jason, I'm gonna lose everything I have in this house. And I know I got equity here. That's what it sounds like, guys. That's what it sounds like. They don't need to know that you know that they're in financial distress.
Hmm.
Everybody's going that route. Everybody's got their chest open with a big old S. I can save you. I can save you, right? Yeah, you can save me, but what's in it for you? Are you a shark like everybody else? You know what I mean? Because not
Yeah.
everybody's doing what Jason. They're not out to serve, you
Well,
know?
and that's why it's so important to try to get the appointment so you can go over and meet with them and build rapport. And like you said, do what you said you're going to do. If you said you're going to only take 15 minutes, at 15 minutes, say, hey, I got everything I need. You know, I'm going there like, well, wait, I got questions. Well, hey, I want to respect your time. I told you I'd be done in 15 minutes, but if you have some questions, I'll be more than happy to stay.
I love it. Was this good, guys? I'm sad that not more people decided to schedule the time, but that's okay. It's nice to hang out with Eagles.
Ah,
that are making shit happen. I'm serious.
well, I pick up the.
Anything else for Jason? Anything else for Jason?
No, I'm ready to go make some phone calls. I really appreciated that you just even just shared that, you had a real good success. So there you go. That's all we can dream of. I could buy 20 dialers with one of those.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, just from that one phone call, just that one, the house they purchased was 865, and then we'll list their house for 1.6. So that's over 2 million. It's like $2.5 million worth of business from one call.
Hey, that's how you provide
I'm gonna
for
go a
your
little.
family. Good job.
I'm gonna go a little further than that. That's called I capped in 2 deals.
Right,
That's
right.
no, that's what that's called.
Yep,
I just capped in 2 deals. You know what I mean?
And both our
Yeah.
anniversaries start over April 1st. So let's go.
Right.
Love
But
it. Love it.
but what I'm more excited about is really doing a good job for them and meeting some of their friends.
You know what? You know my position on faith. I just get excited that when you're showing up and that more opportunities are being assigned to you to take good care of people, and then you take good care of them. My biggest mistake is I was looking for the next deal. The first 15 years of my career, it was all about the next deal, the next deal, the next deal, the next deal. When I could have, if I would have just slowed down, I would have had a hell of a lot more next deals I didn't have to look for. They would have just
Yeah.
came to me because
Well,
I
when
did
you're
really good.
taking care of people and serving them at a high level with care, more business is attracted to you.
Love it. Love it. That's great, man. I love it. And I want to finish. I want to finish with this thought. Give them more than what they expect. Give them more than what they expect. Give them way more. I got this retirement guy. He asked me a question. Is it the right time to sell? He's got all these health problems. And I said, well, it just depends on what your motivation is, what you're trying to accomplish. Went through the whole thing and I just let him know. I said, hey, we're gonna explore all these options and we're gonna find the best one for you. We're gonna find the best one for you. Don't rush the sales process. Don't rush the sales process. Let it ebb and flow as it needs to. Does that make sense? Jason said,
Yeah.
let's set an appointment tentative. Let's just schedule another time to talk about this. I want to schedule another time to talk about this. And then after that, we'll schedule another time. Let's identify. Today, the guy's like, you know what? I'm paying 1560 a month for my house in Manteca. Probably work about 700 grand. And he wants to know if he should do a condo or wants to know if he wants to do a mobile home. So we're kind of going through the whole thing. And I said, hey, have you thought about maybe a duplex? We can do a duplex. We scale it down and you can make a little income. It's like, I haven't really thought about that. Man, I knew you were the right call. That's what I was telling my sister. I knew you would take care of me. I said, you know what, man? This is about you figuring out, let's find the solution that's best for you. Let's find the solution that's best for you. So awesome, guys. Thanks again, Jason, for taking time out today. We got 4 minutes left. Any other final questions before we end?
So Joey, have we put on the calendar? I know some people weren't available the first week of April, but are we gonna do another call day?
Look, I'm going to say this to you and everybody who's listening at home. I will do this as long as you guys continue wanting to do it.
Okay.
I will do this as long as you guys continue wanting to do it because it's going to add value to everybody. And you know what I mean? And I would, Jason, if you have anybody in that little community that you think would be willing to share some, or anybody in your world would be to share on one of our Wednesdays, that'd be great, man. That way we can just kind of keep it moving. You let me know on that.
Okay. Yeah, I have a guy.
Look at that. I love it. I love it.
And I'll tell you, man, he's great on the phones and he's very knowledgeable. Like sometimes when we get on because we do group calls through Zoom and we'll listen to each other. And sometimes I just sit there and listen to him.
Yeah.
And learn from him because he's really good. He's been doing it for a long time. He's really good.
Well, Jason, maybe we can get him booked in a couple weeks. Maybe not this Wednesday, maybe 2 Wednesdays out. If you can get him booked to come and speak to us, that would be great. You know,
Okay. Yeah, I'll ask him.
just and guys, I'm gonna stop this recording real quick.